Recording. I'll now acknowledge that we're being recorded. Okay. Mr. Chairman Mike McCoo of the Willington Board of Finance calling the meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. on Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Pardon me, because I'm managing two screens and two keyboards here. All right. We've called to order. Our next order of business is introduction of new members. We have two new members on board with us and some re-elected members. So first of all, congratulations to the re-elected members for still being here. And to our new members, we have Mr. Joe Sherrill and Mr. Jim Gilligan. And I'd like to welcome them both here. Thank you. Joe is in a regular full slot, and Mr. Gilligan is in an alternate slot. We do have all of our regular members tonight, so we don't need to seat an alternate. So I'm going to move on to election of officers. I checked with the town clerk. We couldn't find specific rules on this other than the history that it is traditionally done. So we figure it's the right thing to do. Our officers are chair, vice chair, and secretary. And I guess I would, at this point, entertain nominations for the chairman spot.
I'd like to nominate Mike McCoo for chairman.
Second. I would like to second that.
Do we have any other? How did we debated this before? Do we vote on each nomination, or do we check for other nominations first? I don't remember how we settled this.
I think we
It
should,
was
I think we should have our full slate so we know what's going on before we vote. So the full slate of
You
nominees.
can ask if there's any other nominations, yes.
Okay. So are there any other nominations for chairman? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to vice chairman. Are there any nominations for vice chairman?
I nominate Jeff Prujak.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a nomination and a second for Jeff Prusak for vice chair.
I kind of want to decline. that.
Nominations.
But we're clamoring.
I appreciate that. I don't have a lot of time to really devote to, I know it sounds silly, but to be able to do that well.
Well, I only pushed one meeting to you in the last 2 years, so hopefully I can maintain that record.
All right, let's see how it goes.
You've done a good job of being ready. No other nominations for vice chair. I'll entertain nominations for secretary.
I'll nominate Peter Tanaka.
Second,
We have a nomination, a second for Pete Tanaka for secretary. We have any other nominations for secretary? All right, let's go back to the top. Let's vote on, we have one nomination for chairman, Mike McCoo. Let's vote on that, please. Huh?
oh no, that's my wife yelling in the background. Never mind. So
Well, Is she yelling
all
at
in
me?
favor of Mike.
Okay, Eileen, can you call a vote for the nomination for Mike McCoo for chairman, please?
Yes. Do I ask you to?
You can ask me at the end.
Okay. Okay. Joseph Sherrill,
You got to unmute and, oh, I guess that's a yes? Okay,
oh, okay.
he's waving yes.
Okay. Christina,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Peter,
yes,
Mike.
Yes.
Okay, all yes.
Thank you for the honor, I think. All right, so Eileen, can you vote, call a vote for the one nomination for vice chairman for Jeff Prusak?
Yes. Joseph? Christina?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
You answered for Jeff.
I do that all the time. I'm sorry. It's a
Okay.
little flaw I
Okay.
have.
Was that a yes, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Peter
oh, yes,
and Mike?
Yes.
Okay. All yes.
Also, Eileen, would you call a vote for our last position of the nomination for Pete Tanaka for secretary?
Yes. Joseph? Christina?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Peter?
yes,
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, all yes.
Okay, congratulations on the re-elected officers. We got through a lot in the last 2 years. Let's hope these next 2 years are easier. So moving on to approval of minutes. The board members have 3 sets of minutes that were sent out. However, there's only 1 set that we can approve tonight based on the posting deadlines. And that is the set of minutes from the September 16th meeting, I believe. Stephanie?
Oh, that's the one that, okay, because we have one that's slugged October 21st, but the date on it is September 21st. It looks like the October meeting to me.
Okay, so the October meeting one we cannot vote on because it hasn't gone to the town clerk in the time frame that would allow us to vote on it. So
Okay,
we'll look at I'll look at the October one after and see if there's an error in the file name or whatever. We'll fix that.
okay.
But there should be one that is specifically for September 16th. I think it was September 16th.
I might have looked at the wrong one then.
Does anyone else have
Got one.
comments on the minutes?
Like you got one here from August. That was my meeting.
Yeah, I'm confused because I did not see a September
Okay,
document. I don't know.
I move we table approval of minutes to the next meeting.
I second it.
All right, for discussion purposes, I'll go back through the 3 sets of minutes I sent you and make sure everything is dated correctly and that we have the right stuff, and I'll make sure everything gets posted to the town clerk. And then we will be ready for the next meeting to approve them.
Thanks.
Any other discussion on the motion?
So we are missing those September.
Right, so we should have had August, September, and October minutes. And we only would have voted on September tonight. So all 3 of them will come up again next month.
excellent,
That was what I thought I emailed out to all of you, those 3.
We only got 2.
Okay.
Unless
Possibly have the right ones if you only got 2 out of the 3. All right, any other discussion on the motion? Eileen?
Okay. Christina?
Yes.
Peter?
yes,
Joseph? Steph?
Yes.
Jeff?
yes.
Mike? All yes.
Just for Eileen, I can't see Joe well from here. How are you seeing his affirmative? Are you hearing him?
I'm not really either. I'm assuming he's saying yes because he's not complaining. Okay, he's gonna wave. All right.
Oh, if you don't unmute so we can hear your voice, then we'll need something that's clear, like a thumbs up or a strong wave, so we know what your vote is, okay? There you go.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you. Okay, present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic, and maintain decorum. So anyone else who is on this tonight, if you're in video and you would like to speak, please wave your hand. If you're not sending a video, then unmute yourself and call out your name. We'll call on you. Eileen, can you also note that Lisa Wolf is on the meeting now? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have her on there. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any present to speak? Okay, moving on to old business. One, budget update. General update, you'll notice I put right on the agenda that the unemployment dropped August to September from 5.9 to 3.7, which is a great sign. It's not only our biggest drop, but our lowest number in a year. So feeling good about that number. Anything else from board members about general budget update before we go into the rest of it? And just, I want to put up for Mr. Gilligan's and Mr. Sherrill's benefit. I just wanted to say, board discussion is encouraged for any of these topics amongst the board members. And alternates, although can't vote, alternates are welcome to participate in discussion and in asking questions. The only thing alternates can't do unless they're seated is they can't strongly advocate for a position, yay or nay, on a vote, and can't try to like turn the sentiment of the group in a particular direction, because then by law they would be seen as a 7th or 8th member, whereas by law we're a 6-member committee or board. So please feel free to ask questions and participate up to that limit. It's valuable.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing else on general update? Let's move to public health crisis update. That unemployment number probably fits into this category as well. I have had conversations with some of the local businesses lately. They are still having trouble hiring and getting good help. But some places are now seeing that since the larger unemployment compensation things have ended, the temporary higher compensation, that employees are getting a little bit easier to find. I guess from an economic standpoint, it's good that businesses are wanting to hire. And apparently it's good for the employees to not take jobs. They're okay with not getting paid right now. I'm not sure what that means. But I am hearing fairly positive things from local businesses. They're fairly busy. And let's hope that continues. Erica, do you have anything public health crisis wise for
I
budget?
didn't, I had something on the general budget, specifically our budget, Mike, if I can share.
Of course.
And then I think we've discussed this at Board of Finance before, and the Board of Selectmen are keeping an eye on, within the Public Works budget, specifically the tree budget. So currently, we had budgeted $50,000 in that line item, and it's currently overspent by almost $11,000 between storm damage and trees that needed to come down. Many of them were the emerald ash borer infected trees. We are overspent, and it's not as though we can not take down, a tree that comes down. So some work will still have to be done. Right now, the overall public works budget is still in good shape and still under budget, but we're keeping a close eye. So I think we talked to you about the potential need to come back and ask for a considerable amount of money if we need to take down more of these ash trees. And we just don't know what will come from the winter season. So I just want to keep you up to date on where we're at with that.
Thank you on that.
Thank you.
Anything from the board on public health crisis update? Okay, let's move on to federal funding. Erica, I believe the Board of Selectmen has been moving forward on your committee. I think if you could give us an update on that and anything else on ARP.
Sure. We actually modeled an ordinance after something the town of Stafford did that would enact a commission, an American Rescue Plan Commission. We're looking at it being made up of 11, I believe it's 11 members. And that would then, the ordinance would delegate the spending authority to that group. So it's a large group of individuals where the Board of Finance would be represented, and projects would then go through that group, as well as the public. There would still be public hearings. There would still be lots of public input. But the town meeting would now give the authority to that group for the spending of those dollars. So the Board of Selectmen are moving forward to take that draft ordinance to a town meeting. And I'm not sure if at our last meeting, it was mentioned to you that we had a couple $1,000s left from CARES funds, which we had thought we had spent every penny of it before the end of December last year. And then FEMA came in and funded 100%. So we got some funding back. So we had money left. We utilized that to purchase 3 new computers for town office employees, 2 at Public Works, and then our treasurer. So computers that needed to be replaced, but the setups we're using will allow them then to work from home if we once again find ourselves in the same place where they need to take a computer home. It's a laptop and then can go home to work with them. So we were able to purchase 4 new webcams and 3 new computers with those dollars.
And then anything, I'm assuming there's no local guidance yet on the infrastructure bill, right? Do you have any idea what may affect Wellington? Because most of that stuff looks like big projects.
It does. It looks like they're going to be competitive grants. So we had a presentation about this at CROG this week. And really, it looks like they're going to be competitive dollars. And so we don't have any idea how much will trickle down to municipalities, if at all, which is a little bit frustrating. But if some major work within the state can get done and we can find a positive there, but we just don't know. But it really looks as though they're going to be competitive dollars.
I did notice in the information that came out from Congressman Courtney's office, there were a couple of specific local projects noted in their press material, which sounds like someone managed to find a way to get a set allocation put into the program. Do you
There were
have any others,
Yeah, there were
or-
some things in that bill, Mike, that were already dollars already spent. So there's not all of that bill was new funding.
Oh, okay.
And that's why you already see some projects. So you might see another, we'll see another round of pretty competitive grants out there. So one more reason a grant writer on staff would be helpful to the town, but don't know that, we would still benefit. So there wasn't a lot of hope at that meeting I was at this week, but we will wait and see. They're still getting information out about it.
Okay, and then do we have any idea if railroad improvements will affect this railroad that goes through town at all, or do you think that's all going to be on passenger railroad?
Right now, it sounds like passenger railroad, but I don't think we should rule anything out. Not all these dollars have been accounted for, so there's still room for discussion.
Okay. Any other board member comments, questions, thoughts?
Yeah, can I
Stephanie?
point out that this current committee has no Board of Finance representative?
Yes, you can point that out. I don't think the current, you're talking about the ARP committee, Jeff?
We're holding off on meeting until such time as the town meeting that would then the Board of Selectmen would appoint new members. And so if this group wants to talk about who they would put forward, if and when we get to that, to either the ad hoc committee now and then on to the Board of Selectmen for the commission, if it gets approved, that would be something you could talk about. It would be prudent.
So Erica, at this point, the ad hoc committee is probably not going to end up taking a lot of action.
No, we had decided to hold off our meetings until such time as to see where the ordinance went. And so since it went through the Board of Selectmen and now onto town meeting, I anticipate us waiting until then.
Erica, could I draw you out on that a little bit,
Sure can.
on the statute? What exactly, other than passing or failing the statute itself, what role does the typical citizen voter have in that process of deciding on how that money's spent?
So the members of the commission, so they really, the average townsperson is giving the authority to spend the dollars to the commission. But part of the charge of the commission is to make sure that the commission shall encourage, facilitate, and solicit input from the community. They shall educate the public via hosted presentations and ARPA fund updates. So, we're trying to put in place things that make sure that the community is involved and it is in writing. And so we have to hold updates. So presentations could come from individuals, from groups. But the commission, and we've, again, 11 members, we're looking at the Human Services Director, Emergency Management Director, our business manager, the town, our zoning agent, first selectman, someone from the Recreation Commission, someone from the Board of Finance, someone from the public health community.
Okay,
And
so
someone from economic development. So those individuals will make up the commission that would ultimately vote on spending these dollars, but the public's input, survey work, public hearings, but talking with the public about making sure that we're spending it the way the residents of Wellington want to see it spent.
do we have everything covered? Is there, something to be said for other entities in town that are not part of the town government already? Because those mostly sound like town government posts.
They are. Who would you be thinking of, Steph?
I don't, off the top of my head, I was just kind of thinking, what about the faith groups in town? I mean, I don't know if that's
Right, so
applicable.
there
but
is
they all-
limited use of some of the funds. It's not as though it's, open to groups like we might typically see spending of monies. So
Yeah.
those kinds of groups we didn't include in the makeup of this board. They are mostly made up of, town staff and key players, commissions, etc.
Maybe a couple of, like at-large slots on that group could come from regular folks who are not in town government who, I don't know. I mean,
And
that's
that could
what we
be
do
talked
for
about
other-
there. We're already talking about a group of 11. So it
Yeah.
gets kinda dicey.
Maybe-
So my recommendation was this, but that could be something to discuss at town meeting.
The business community might be something worth considering too, because this money can go to local businesses, right?
Right, we did
Insert.
add a member of EDC.
Okay, all right. Okay, any more discussion on the federal funding agenda item? All right, moving on to ambulance service to the town of Union. For our new members, there's been some discussion since the last budget season about the way ambulance service in Wellington operates. One of the two fire departments in Wellington operates the ambulance for the entire town. It is funded by taxpayer money, and then a significant amount of money comes back in from billing for the ambulance services. And that ambulance has primary responsibility for Wellington. It also does mutual aid with the local towns, which is a give and take process. And it also has primary responsibility for the town of Union. The crux of this conversation has been that the town of Union does not pay any, taxpayers of the town of Union do not pay anything for that service. And there have been lengthy conversations where the fire department has said that the benefit of providing this service is that there's more billing coming in. And so over the last few months, this board has endeavored to have a conversation with the town of Union. And we were able to finally get a date and a time where Chief Moore and the first selectman of the town of Union and our first select woman, Erica, where we could all meet at the same time We had a quickly scheduled meeting, we discussed it, and the stand is essentially the same as it has been. The town of Union feels that their relationship is not with the town of Wellington, it's with the fire department, and if there was to be any funds provided, in return for the service, that it would likely be a understanding between the town of Union and the fire department, as opposed to the town of Union and the town of Wellington. The fire department is willing to discuss more. We had some lengthy conversation that the Board of Finance's position on this is we're just trying to figure out the right thing to do for Wellington taxpayers. They're paying close to $700,000 a year for the ambulance service, then they're getting back 100 and some to 200, depending on the year, for billing. And 10% of the service is being provided in the town of Union. And so that's what we're trying to figure out, what is the right thing to do. What came out of that meeting was that the fire department is going to pursue better detail of what their costs are for these trips for providing the service in Union, so that we could come back to the board and have a conversation about what is it really costing the taxpayers and the fire department to provide that service to Union. Chief Moore is prepared to have that conversation. He had a significant commitment tonight he could not get out of, so he's not attending tonight. So I promised him this would just be discussion. We weren't going to take action. He wants to come to us as soon as possible, either for a special meeting or our next meeting, with the report on what the actual costs are. And so we can have more conversation about what to do. And that dovetails into a conversation that will also occur in new business, where they're looking to increase hourly rates so that they can hire EMTs, because this current job market has gotten so difficult. And they also have problems with, as we all know, there's problems with getting equipment, and the condition of the ambulance is a concern. So we're going to talk about that in new business. But that's, at this point, that's the update on where we are about the topic of the ambulance service to Union. So, board member questions? Okay. There are a couple members of Wellington Fire Department number 1 on the call. I don't know if they planned on speaking, but if someone was looking, Trevor or Derek or anybody else, if you were looking to speak for the fire department, do you need to do that? If you don't sign on in a moment, I'll assume you're just here to listen.
Mike, we are appreciating the dabbing.
Oh, thank you. Maybe I should. Yeah. You're too old to know that, Pete. Okay, so let's move on for now. Fiscal year 19 annual report. For our new people, because of changing in staffing on the board, the change of the chairman 2 years ago, changing the secretaries, and then COVID, the fiscal year 19 annual report was compiled and then sat. It's been sent out to the board members, and my feeling is that it's pretty well put together, and it's as good as it's going to get. And what I would like the board's permission to do is to put a simple cover letter on it saying what I just said, that this report was delayed, and get that report published. Was that so moved, Pete?
Yes, that is so moved.
Can I get a
Sorry, I
second?
jumped on you there.
All right. Can I get a second on the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion on the motion?
Could you repeat it, since people were kind of talking over each other a little bit, what the actual motion is?
The motion is to put a simple cover letter on explaining the delay of the annual report and get it published.
Thanks.
And what that will lead to is right behind that will follow with the FY 20 and 21 annual reports. So stand by for those. Any more discussion on the motion? Eileen, can you call the vote?
Yes, Christina,
Yes.
okay. Stephanie,
Yes.
Joe,
Joe,
I think he said yes. Peter,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
and Mike.
yes.
All yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. President Gantick, I see you're there. You're unmuted. Do you want to comment on that last topic we were on?
No, I wasn't part of that meeting, so I'm not prepared to comment on that. I'm just sitting in place of Alex right now.
Okay, I just wanted to check because I saw you had unmuted.
Yep.
Okay. When we get to the other one, in new business, do you want me to look for you at that point too?
No, again, that's Alex's project he's working on. I've been involved with it, but I'm not prepared to speak tonight.
Okay, I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you needed it. So I'll talk about what I know so far. We met with Erica when we get to that one. We'll talk about that and then we'll wait for a meeting when the chief can attend.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Reports of representatives to other committees. School building committee is first. That's me. School building committee met last night and things are moving forward on multiple fronts right now. We're somewhere around the time that the PO is or has been issued for the enrollment study. That's one of the first requirements of this process. We are also, the committee is also almost done with the RFP to be sent out to solicit proposals for a owner's project manager, which would assist the school building committee with walking through the process. And that's a critical piece to making sure we do things right to access the state funding, to make sure that we put the right pieces together, whether it's the enrollment study, looking at pieces of property, assessing the current buildings, all of that stuff. And the land acquisition subcommittee was renamed the land assessment subcommittee so that it had a name that was more appropriate to its responsibility to look at all of the property, including the stuff we already own. It wasn't only looking at buying new property. So that committee, along with the full committee, has been preparing a matrix to use to assess property, including the property we already own. And that committee will subcommittee will probably be meeting next week and moving forward with finishing up that assessment tool, and then moving forward with probably starting with the town-owned property, including the property the schools are on. And that will allow us to test the assessment tool, and it will also allow us to document how we've evaluated each piece of property. And that way the public can at any time basically see how we've done the process. If we eliminated a piece of property, what was our reasoning for it? Or if we like a piece of property, including the existing places the schools are, whatever that is, it would be able to, the assessment tool would show how that was documented. Any questions about school building committee? All right, let's move on to town employee bargaining agreement. Is that you, Pete Tanaka?
that is me.
Can you tell us?
We have been in communication through the first selectman with the union. We do now have our first meeting scheduled for next Monday. They've had some issues on the other side, on the union side, on finding their representation and figuring out what they wanted to do. I understand they're now ready to begin bargaining, and hopefully we'll figure something out here starting Monday on direction we're moving, that kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Pete Tanaka? All right, moving on to new business. Item 1, Wellington Fire Department number 1, request for additional funding for ambulance payroll and repair and replacement. Board members did get, and I apologize, the new board members, did you get it in what I sent in the last couple of days? I think you did actually. You got an email from Chief Moore. And it was a request to have a meeting between myself as chair, Erica, and the chief to discuss current impact on the fire department, which is really pretty much all around the pandemic and the rollout effect of that. And one impact is it's getting difficult to hire EMTs, especially at the rate that they're paying. The EMTs they currently have are getting sort of stolen away by other towns because they've jacked up the rate they're paying. So it's become a sort of an employee bidding war going on. And Chief Moore's in a position where he needs to elevate his base EMT rate, which was essentially at minimum, just above minimum wage. He's gonna have to go up a little more, otherwise he can't staff the ambulance. At this point, he doesn't know at what time in the year that would run his budget out. It's a ways away because it's not a huge ad in this fiscal year. But he wanted to have a conversation and he wants to meet with us as a board to talk about where we could access funding from. There was a discussion about various places to get funding from, and really all that revolved around coming back to this board for additional appropriations and discussion like that. Because he can't attend tonight, you know, I'd like this to just essentially be informative. Obviously, I'll take questions from the board members, but we'll wait until he can attend a meeting, which will be very soon, and you know, to take more action on it. So why don't we, if there are questions about that part before we go to repair and replacement, Stephanie?
Do we have an average figure on what is the minimum wage pay that we're doing that, and what are other towns doing by comparison that are hiring away people?
I believe what he said, and Erica, you might remember the numbers. Unfortunately, I can't get into them in my computer. I can't get on the internet probably, but I believe other towns right around us are paying as much as $2 an hour more for EMTs. And you know, so that's if I remember right, he was talking about Stafford and
Vernon, Mike.
Stafford and Vernon,
I
maybe.
think it was Vernon.
Okay. Possibly Stafford and Vernon, at least $2 an hour more for the base level, entry level EMTs, the part timers.
So we don't know what our budget shows as minimum wage for the same positions.
Well, you know,
It
we
varies.
don't normally see that hourly rate information anyway from them. We see a total of what they're paying. But I think if Erica helped me, if you remember the numbers, I think he was saying he was paying 15 an hour, and the surrounding towns are up between 17 and 18 now.
I believe that's correct. And he had some, and I don't know if Ron or Trevor from the fire department can at least answer the pay question, but that there were some that were paying, you know, $20, $21, $22 an hour. So we're considerably lower and losing out to these other towns.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We have been consistently about the lowest paid department in the area. Towns like Collin and Mansfield are paying, you know, $4 or $5 an hour more. Some of the departments we talked about, like Vernon and Stafford, plus the commercial companies have bumped their rates up at least $2 an hour more. So that still puts us at a deficit. You know, it's kind of unfortunate. You know, our part-time people they're making just over minimum wage. So we need to bump them up, and of course, bumping up those people and any new people coming in is going to precipitate problem to the full-time staff who are there. So we need to look at that to keep everything equitable.
Right, so if anyone missed that, the numbers were similar to what Eric and I said, and one of the points that President Gantic made was that as they move up their entry-level people, then that puts their salary to close the same or sometimes more than people who are already there, so then they have a commensurate push up for the people above them that have to get moved up to make the pay scale fair for experience and all that other stuff. And what Chief Moore was estimating for this particular budget year we're in now, he was estimating an additional $17,000. And the impact, looking at next budget year, the budget that they would be requesting soon, is he was assuming approximately $30,000 for a full year.
You know, I think when you have something that affects the whole salary program, because obviously minimum wage laws affect salaried employees ultimately because of that bracket creep you're talking about. It would really help to have some data presented on comparison with towns around us, rather than kind of throwing out numbers from people's memories. I know he's coming next week or next month, and that's why I'm kind of bringing it up now. Maybe we could get word to ask him to really give us some figures and data on this, so we really have recent research on it, and present it in a way that it's not oral. It's you know,
Writing.
yeah, some kind of, you know, a little chart and what towns we're asking. I would suggest we ask more than Stafford and Vernon, although they sound like the ones that are jumping in. And you know, just so we have an understanding of the whole dynamic and how he gets to the 17 grand for this fiscal year and the 30 grand for next. A little analysis.
Mike?
He's got that information, so.
Good.
And it will be presented.
Thanks.
Mike?
Tanaka, go ahead.
Yeah, I just like that, two things. One is that I think that this board ought to officially notify Donna that she should start looking for where that money might come from. So she's got a heads up and can start working on it. That's number one. And number two, I'm sure she's listening in and has already gotten that, but you know, we should make a note in the minutes that we've asked her to start looking. The second thing is I would really like, Stephanie just said, we need not only in writing, but we need a kind of a comprehensive list of all the towns around us. You know, if we just look at a few towns and which towns we're looking at, you know, which towns were chosen to compare ourselves to can be problematic. I just want to make sure we get a full list of up to 2 towns around us, and I think we're going to look real bad in comparison to some of them. So I understand the problem. I just want, you know, I want to make sure we have enough towns that it doesn't look like we're cherry picking the towns that we're looking at.
Understood. Any other comments?
Can I just
questions?
comment to the request Peter made? After Chief Moore came to speak with Mike and myself, we did have this conversation with Donna. So I think, you know, Mike has the information about where the dollars could come from when you all get to a point where you start discussing that. So.
Okay. That's not what Mike said at the beginning. That's why I brought it up. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't lead you to that answer better. Okay, anything else on this topic? All right. Christina?
It just occurred to me, if a town has a private ambulance service, are those salary numbers available to know to us?
I don't know. I think it would be easy to find advertising records right now of what those private services are hiring, because everyone's trying to hire right now.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably, or we could ask the fire department to find it probably pretty easily. And I would imagine that Chief Moore works at the county dispatch. I would imagine he probably knows people in those towns that have the paid ambulance services. You know, that where he might know someone who can give him that answer.
Yeah, you know, I'm just curious.
I will pass on to him after this meeting. I'll send him an email indicating what we're asking for.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Pete, do you want to take your hand down or just leave it up there? I can high five you if you want.
I got it.
It's the Blue Hand Group.
There's a yellow hand on my screen. Okay. Okay, calendar year 2022 board calendar. So, let's see, I know I can find that one. For those who have had the chance to look at it, you will notice that it's a very simple, it's a very simple list of, thank you, Erica, of the third Thursdays throughout the year. And we don't happen to hit any major holidays. It misses Thanksgiving, so
That's not this one. This is the one for the budget meetings.
budget meeting calendar.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that stuff. There we go.
Yeah.
So you will see it's just the third Thursdays rolling right through the year, our typical rotation. And in February and March, those overlap with budget meetings, of course. I don't think there's anything too controversial about this. Any board member comments? If not, I'll take a motion to approve this as our 2022 regular meeting calendar.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Steph. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, Eileen, you want to run us through a vote, please?
Oh, sorry, Christina,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Joseph. I can't see him.
Joe, can you unmute so we can hear your voice? Because of the screen share, we can't see you.
Okay, got him now. Steph,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Okay, oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Erica, now can you put that other one up since you're doing so well with screen sharing? Okay, this is our budget season calendar. This one, potentially could have a little more discussion. For those of you, if you had a chance to see the email this afternoon, I don't know that you did. There is information from Donna about how what the legal requirements are. And I know that this is difficult sometimes. Oh, wait, we're on, oh, never mind. I got the wrong thing on my screen, that's why. Okay. If you look at the end of the budget season, those last 3 dates are Tuesdays. That has caused a problem in the past for member availability. We have to, I believe the referendum is kind of fixed to that Tuesday. And I'm not, hang on, I'm trying to talk while I'm moving screens again. So feel free, other members, Steph, I know this was a situation that you were concerned with. Do you have any comments on this one?
Well, just that I think that, and I know that there's some things that can't be moved. I mean, referendum dates are harder, of course. I had a question about that. Like, is that the one where Region 19 votes on Monday, May 2nd on their school budget and their town budgets?
This would be the date by statute for the region. The May
So
3rd.
everybody votes on Tuesday, May 3rd. But no, I just thought that there could maybe be like the budget hearing could be on a Wednesday or Thursday as opposed to a Tuesday or something like that. I think, or the annual town meeting. Well, the annual town meeting could be one of those 2 days. If it works out, I know we would have to plan ahead, like back it up more than what, you know, I know that there's like it's got to be within 2 weeks. One of them does. I can't really remember the rule book, and I know there is a rule book. It's just that we've always done it this way, and I think we just kind of, I wonder if there's some way that we could have one of these 3 meetings be on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday or Thursday or some other day that that doesn't, you know, anyone who works on a Tuesday night or has obligations Tuesdays cannot participate in any of this process.
So I think, staff, I think part of what the concern also is that a lot of people who are on this board have Thursday night sort of programmed as their Board of Finance night. And
Right.
they have other things in their life that is programmed for Tuesday nights.
Exactly.
So we could, to give more time to review the material that I sent you from Donna that came in yesterday and today, there was information that I forwarded you from town clerk and stuff from Donna today that we might want to take a little time and look at. So we could table approving this calendar until the next meeting, because this calendar doesn't take effect until February anyway. So we could approve it in the December meeting. As a matter of fact, last year we didn't approve it till January, which was way too late. So I guess I'll leave it up to the board members. Do we want to approve it and just move forward because we know this works? Or do we want to take some time to digest the materials we got in email and revisit this?
Mike?
Yes,
Although I don't see a need for any changes in here as I look at it. I do think we should, I'd like to move that we table it till the next meeting and approve it then, just so we get a chance to more fully integrate it into our personal calendars and see where the flaws might be.
and can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table this agenda item to the next meeting. Discussion, Erica?
Can I just share? I encourage you all to look at the information that Donna shared with you. The dates aren't set because it's what we've always done. You start with a referendum and work your way backwards. There's statutes and timeframes involved. And because we have to legally warn these things in the newspaper, it's not as though you can have a meeting and then immediately the next morning at 8 a.m. we can send these things off to the newspaper. There's lots of preparation. The newspaper takes time. And if you shorten these timeframes, it would make it a real problem to make sure we get things done. And that's why you work from the referendum, which is set by statute on a Tuesday, and go backwards. So if you take a look at what Donna put out there, I understand what you're saying, Steph. But if we move it to a Wednesday, you hit people who work on a Wednesday, you move it to a Thursday. And so it's this way for those purposes. And until someone tells us we don't have to legally warn in a newspaper, it really puts us.
But what I'm saying, Erica, I understand what you're saying. And it may be that it's something that just can't be, can't be fixed. But I'm saying the key moments in our budget process, which we all toil away at week after week, day after day. And then when it comes to fruition, they're all on Tuesdays. And I'm just saying that connects out people who have Tuesday obligations completely in the in game when it's really important. So
I understand. But again, it's that referendum date and working backwards with timeframes that are set by statute within that day. So
one of the things.
right, but I mean, there's no play at all. You're saying,
So Steph, let me comment on that.
okay,
The thing we discussed in this past year's budget process, when we were coming down to the last couple of days in this past year's budget process, remember we had a discussion about waiting, like we're on a Thursday, could we call another meeting on a Friday or a Saturday? We had this discussion. The problem was that in March, we had backed up against all those time limits. And so really the only way we could alter this, if we took the April 19th and moved it to the previous Thursday and the April 5th then to the previous Thursday, that would mean we would have to push the March, what our requirements are to get the budget process done in March. So that's the only thing I think that the board members can think about in between now and then. Is there a way we can compress the budget process to be ready earlier? If we could be ready a few days earlier, then the warning and notice periods for the 3 Tuesdays could then still be made, but we would have to be done earlier. That's how it would work.
Okay,
I might disagree, Mike, because from annual town meeting, you adjourn to referendum, and that can be no less than 7 days and no more than 14 days. So if you gave yourself more time and back that up, now you're not within the time frame to get to the referendum date. So it really does all, what each date affects the next date up for those 3 items.
Any more discussion on the motion to table it? All right, let's vote. Eileen?
Okay, Christina,
Yes,
Peter,
Yes,
Joseph? Okay, gotcha. Steph,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
All
Okay,
yours.
so I would ask board members to please review all the email material from the last couple of days. I know there's a lot. But go through it and look especially at the stuff that came from Donna today that I sent you, because it explains these date brackets. Pretty good detail. That'll allow us to be fully ready for this conversation when it comes back up. Okay. Fiscal year 2023, which would be our new fiscal year that would start July 1 of 2022. Budget request guidance. I sent you all a copy of the guidance letter we had used last year that we deliberated on extensively. I highlighted a bunch of sections. Some of them were about changing dates, updating the dates for the next season. One of the things that I thought was something we should discuss. Last year, we said, we'd like you to bring in a 0 budget. And then we said, and please justify any changes. We've debated every year what we should put in there. Should we say bring in no more than 2%? Should we bring in 0%? What should we ask people to do? And I think that's probably one of our critical decisions. My own feeling is we almost should just not even put a percentage in there. We should just say, any changes in your budget from this year, please justify them. And maybe we should, be clear on how we want it justified. So what,
I agree with you.
any other discussion?
yeah, I agree with that too. I just feel like, you're not delivering much of a message if every year you say 0%.
Mike,
Yes,
may I
Peter.
propose a motion that you write a draft letter, let us see it, and we vote on it at the next meeting or discuss it at the next meeting?
Would love to do that.
I know you would.
Is that a motion?
Yep.
Second,
Any discussion on that? Anything else you guys want to see me put in the draft so we're closer to ready?
Mike, one of the things that we do on CIP is we have that form that people fill out. And I don't think we have that in for the Board of Finance, and it's partly because they're not projects that we're talking about, but it really would be like almost like a checkoff sheet would be great to just make sure that we get the information we need to really evaluate these things.
And that would probably, it would probably sort of put on a piece of paper the things that we usually ask each year, right? If you are changing a program that's going to cost money, please tell us what that is. If you are changing staffing, please tell us what that is, right? That kind of thing, but actually putting it, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And if you're changing staffing, then there's what would be the short-term impacts and the long-term impacts, and what would be the ancillary costs associated with it, like the benefits and things like that. Just to.
and also offsetting savings from doing something. Like
Right.
if you are adding staff, what contracting out are we saving? That kind of stuff. But I think Christina's right. We need a form that kind of helps people when they're asking for additional year over year spending in their budget, whether it's payroll or equipment or just cost of doing business, whatever. We need some kind of way to capture the figures and the analysis of why that's a smart thing to do.
Sure. Donna, I believe, if I'm correct, that when you send out the letter to all the budget developing agencies, you provide them with access to the spreadsheet format that you need things to be in. Is that correct? Because most people do submit their budgets in that spreadsheet. You're muted still. There you
Okay,
go.
in the past, I did this, sent out spreadsheets. So, you know, for a couple of reasons. So it was uniform for the Board of Finance, and it was just the same year after year. So everybody was kind of used to seeing it. And if
Okay.
you want that, I could probably do it again this year.
Okay, so what we could do then, with this conversation we're having right now, Donna, we could have a cover that goes along with that, that says, that asks these questions. And people could just put the written answer, the text answer explaining the things, and still do all their number work on the spreadsheet like we have been seeing. That way we see a consistent format, and that way you have something consistent to plug into the overall budget, right?
Yes, sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
But that wouldn't necessarily take care of, for instance, if their spending creates an opportunity for savings in another cost center, it wouldn't
Right, so
show
that
that
would-
because they're
that
only
would-
delivering theirs, right?
Stephanie, that would be the form we're talking about, right? Is we want to ask that question.
Okay,
Right, so the cover letter that we're still in the motion, right, for me to do to bring a draft of the cover letter to the next meeting. And so that draft of the cover letter could include this guidance form. Right, so there'd be the guidance letter that we already have been doing updated, and the form that would say, if you are adding staff, what's the staff cost plus any associated costs like fringe benefits or whatever. If you're changing a program, does it eliminate a contracting out or whatever, those kind of things, right? I'll assume that the silence is agreement.
yeah, and
I-
it should have, like, if you're suggesting staff, it should really, you know, have a numerical on that. Like, for instance, if you're combining two positions from, you know, whatever, two half-time positions or whatever to full-time, because then they've got to cost out full-time benefits versus part-time.
So
If that's a new thing, I'm not saying, you know, just in everybody's budget. I'm saying if you want new spending or you want to combine positions or hire positions, that it needs that underpinning. It needs that number. These two halftime positions, maybe it won't be perfect math. Maybe it'll be, you know, 2 15-hour positions. I want to make a full-time position. That's got to be part of it, I think.
So I would ask board members to individually, if you have any suggestions, email them to me so I can add them into it so that we have the best thing. We can't debate or have a meeting in email, but you could send me suggestions that I could add to the form and have for the next meeting. Christina?
Mike, Lisa is having trouble. She can't talk. She can't unmute herself.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can do that.
Can now, but I'm on the Zoom now. Before I was on the phone, and I have a question I want to ask that on the phone call, it wouldn't allow me to speak when the fire department discussion was going on.
Go ahead, Lisa.
So I'm sorry to interrupt the meeting and the flow, but my questions are the hours that they want, the wage increase that the fire department wants to be competitive. did they get a wage increase on their Medicaid rate to justify the increase to be competitive in like-sized fire departments across the state? And the second question is, are there any additional benefits to the fire guys, the fire 24-hour, I think it's a 24-hour position, right? It's
Full timer, 20, yes.
so it's 48 hours, excuse me, it's 40 hours?
The full timers are 24-hour shifts.
24-hour shifts, but it's based on a 40-hour week, right?
Don't know what their averaging schedule is.
Okay, so the question is then, you know, are there any shift differentials? So do the guys at night above this rate increase, do they also get a shift differential for being overnight versus the day? And I think all of them rotate. So, you know, I think, right, if you're a guy during the day for 2 days on, then the following time you have to work, you have to do nights, right? Or
Well,
anyway.
I don't know how the part-timers are scheduled, but the full-timers work a 24, so it's the full 24 hours, and then they're off.
Right. Oh, okay, okay. So are there shift differentials to, in their pay scale to adjust for everything after 3 p.m. and everything after 11 p.m.?
Okay.
So I wanted to know that. And I think we all want to know that. And then really, the key is, does the wage grid that they're saying now that if they raise the entry level pay scale, what is the percentage to increase the rest of the wage grid pay scale? Like, is it 1 year to 10 years, and then after 10 years, you just sort of go along and you rock and roll? Or does it go from 1 to 20 years or something like that? And what if they don't hire somebody brand new experience? What if they hire somebody that has 15 years experience doing something like this? Do then they get hired at a, you know, do they get hired into their wage grid at 15 years? It's not clear. And I think it does need to be clear. That's all.
Okay, I'll add that to the things that I'll put in the email to Chief Moore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the motion we have on the floor. We're in discussion on the motion for me to draft the guidance letter and form. Any more discussion?
So the mac and cheese is done.
All right.
I'll take some mac and cheese also.
I second.
I think we have a budget shortage on it, don't we?
All right.
I hope there's enough
okay.
for the whole class.
Can you call the vote, please?
Yes. Christina,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, that ends our new business. Any correspondence I have, all the board members have as well. And so we're back to present to speak. So anybody out there in who's providing a video and you want to speak, wave your hand. All right, and anyone who's not in video and you want to unmute and call out your name. I'm seeing none. All right, we're on to good and welfare. I know at the last meeting, we thanked the outgoing board members, and we're a little bit unsure of, you know, who would get reelected or whatever. And so now that we're here, I want to say welcome to the new people, and to those who got reelected, congratulations, and I look forward to these 2 years, seeing what we can do to make the board even better. I think we've done very well over a couple of very challenging years. And the reason we did well is because we all worked together, regardless of political affiliation or any other thing that made us different. We found ways to almost completely work together. And by the way, I'd like to point out that almost all of our motions over the 2 years, percentage-wise, were unanimous. And I think that shows a lot of effort to come to consensus and a unified vision for trying to do a good thing with taxpayers' money. So I hope we can continue that record of trying to do a good job with this responsibility with the taxpayers' money. And Thanksgiving is next week, so for those who are enjoying the holiday, please do enjoy your holiday. And keep an eye on what's happening with COVID resurgence and keep yourself healthy. And I think that's it, unless anyone else has anything for good and welfare. Steph?
Oh, I just wanted to shout out to Eileen and thank you for coming in and helping us out.
Thank you, Eileen.
You're
Am I
welcome.
up?
Have a pro in the wings.
You're welcome.
Am I up, Mike?
Oh, can I put a plug in that you still need a regular recording secretary? So
You can, and we are trying to work on that,
if you know
yes. you are
somebody,
correct.
anybody knows somebody.
We're working on that. Anything else for good and welfare? Pete, you go.
Move to adjourn.
I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say goodbye and wave.
Bye.
Bye, everybody have a great night.
Looks unanimous. Good night.